Walk into a friend's apartment and you might see the impossible: clear counters, empty sinks, and not a single stray jacket draped over a chair. If your own home is currently buried under laundry and unread mail, that contrast creates a very specific kind of quiet shame. You wonder what is wrong with you, or why you can't seem to maintain the same basic order. Modern culture treats a tidy home as a moral report card. We are told that organization is a simple matter of discipline, and that a messy room is a sign of a lazy character. But if we look at the neurological mechanics of how we interact with our space, that moral framework begins to fall apart. Cleaning is an intensive mental process. To put one object away, your brain must first categorize it, decide if it's worth keeping, and then determine exactly where it belongs. These steps require constant focus and high-level decision-making, all of which draw from your brain's executive functions. When you are living through chronic stress or emotional exhaustion, those executive functions are the first things to weaken. Your brain enters survival mode, where it can only prioritize the most immediate threats. In this state, the mental energy required to sort a stack of mail simply isn't available. This is what psychologists call a collapse of resources. It's not a lack of willpower, it's a deficit of energy. When you spend your entire day serving a boss, a family, or an anxious mind, you arrive home with an empty tank. The dishes stay in the sink because you have nothing left to give. Your brain does not distinguish between your internal thoughts and your external environment. In environmental psychology, this is known as cognitive load. Every unwashed dish and stray sock is registered by your nervous system as an open tab, a piece of unfinished business that requires your attention.
In 2011, researchers at Princeton University found that physical clutter acts as a neurological distraction. It overloads the visual cortex, which makes it harder for your brain to process information or stay on task. Another study from 2010 analyzed the way people spoke about their homes. The participants who described their living spaces as cluttered or full of unfinished projects showed a specific biological marker: significantly higher levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. That cortisol spike leads to a physical state of high alert. When you sit in a messy room, your brain stays in a cycle of low-grade stress, which eventually manifests as fatigue and a depressed mood. You feel tired because your brain is working overtime just to filter out the chaos. This creates a self-sustaining cycle. Emotional exhaustion leads to the mess, and then the visual presence of that mess drains the exact mental energy you need to fix it. You aren't avoiding the cleaning. You are stuck in a biological feedback loop. To break that loop, we have to look at what the clutter is trying to say. Chronic disorganization is often a physical symptom of a deeper emotional truth. Clinical cases often show this connection, like a woman named Mariana who kept her house filled with unopened moving boxes for 2 years. The boxes contained items from her divorce. They were physical manifestations of her grief. To open them and organize the house meant accepting that her life had changed, a reality she wasn't yet ready to face. For some, chaos serves as a protective wall. A disaster of a home ensures you can never invite people over, which creates a physical barrier to keep others at a safe distance. In this way, the mess is a defense mechanism. People who maintain spotless homes are often using the opposite strategy. By organizing their space, they activate an internal locus of control. They use order to signal to their nervous system that they are safe and capable, which calms their anxiety more effectively than almost any other exercise. Whether it's the person who can't throw anything away or the person who can't stand a single crumb on the floor, the state of the home is a strategy for emotional survival. Sustaining a functional home isn't about finding a sudden burst of motivation. People with organized spaces don't rely on daily willpower. Instead, they operate from an internalized identity. They simply see themselves as the type of person who respects their environment. Human beings naturally act in alignment with who they believe they are. If you constantly label yourself a messy person, your brain will subconsciously look for ways to prove that true. You'll leave the coat on the floor, because that's what a messy person does. But identity is not fixed, it is built through evidence. As author James Clear explains, every small action is a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you put a dish in the washer, you are providing proof to your brain that you are someone who follows through.
This is the logic behind Admiral William McRaven's advice to make your bed every morning. That one action creates a completion loop and a small hit of dopamine. It builds the momentum needed to make the next productive choice. Neuroplasticity shows us that repeating these physical actions eventually wires new neural pathways. It takes an average of 66 days for a behavior to become automatic. The goal is to perform the habit just long enough for your brain to take over the heavy lifting. Once it is automated, maintaining your space takes almost zero mental energy. To start, you have to bypass the brain freeze that comes with a big mess. Shrink the start by using the 1-minute rule. If a task takes less than 60 seconds, do it immediately. Don't think about cleaning the house. Just wash the 1 cup you just used. Next, establish an anchor space. Commit to keeping just one small area, like a nightstand, completely clear at all times. Your nervous system will use this spot as an emotional anchor, providing visual relief when the rest of the world feels overwhelming. You can also use habit stacking, like wiping the kitchen counter while your coffee brews. Finally, try a 10-minute nightly reset. Set a timer and put things back in their place before bed. This creates a psychological boundary that allows your brain to truly rest. There is a story of a patient who felt lost after her children moved out and her home fell into disrepair. Her recovery didn't start with a deep clean. It started when she bought a single candle, lit it in her messy room, and sat down. For her, that was the first step in reclaiming her environment and her sense of self-worth. You are not your mess. Your nervous system just needs a little bit of grace and a smaller place to start. Pick up one item today and take your space back.